As the nation approaches a pivotal moment in its political landscape, the upcoming inauguration of Donald Trump has sparked a wave of reflection and division among Americans. With the inauguration scheduled for January 20, 2025, sentiments surrounding the event are as polarized as ever, revealing deep fractures in the nation's collective psyche. Among those expressing discontent is Paul Wesslund, a writer based in Louisville, who recently articulated his feelings in a poignant opinion piece for the Courier-Journal, highlighting the profound sense of alienation many Americans face in today's political climate. Wesslund's article begins with a stark admission: he will not be celebrating Trump's inauguration. He reflects on his upbringing, which instilled in him a reverence for democracy and the belief that any attempt to undermine it is an affront to the nation's values. However, he finds himself grappling with the reality that half of the electorate appears undeterred by the events of January 6, 2021, when a mob incited by Trump stormed the Capitol in a violent attempt to overturn the election results. To me, January 6 disqualified Trump from the presidency, he asserts, emphasizing that the campaigns may have focused on significant issues, but the acceptance of such a coup is beyond debate. The division Wesslund describes is emblematic of a broader national crisis. His observations regarding the stark red and blue electoral map underscore a painful truth: the United States is not united. As he grapples with feelings of disconnection from his fellow citizens, he notes that many have opted to tune out political discourse altogether. The ratings for liberal-leaning news outlets, like MSNBC, have plummeted, while Trump-supporting channels like Fox News have experienced a surge. This shift reflects a society increasingly divided in its sources of information and perspectives. Meanwhile, Trump's impending inauguration is accompanied by a flurry of announcements, including the appointment of Hollywood figures such as Sylvester Stallone, Mel Gibson, and Jon Voight as special ambassadors to revitalize the entertainment industry, which Trump claims has suffered economically due to foreign competition. This move is not only a nod to the president-elect's celebrity connections, but also a clear signal of his administration's priorities as he seeks to bolster an industry he asserts is in decline, particularly following recent wildfires and the impact of the 2023 actors and writers' strikes. The portraits released of Trump and his vice president, J.D. Vance, further illustrate a calculated shift in Trump's public image as he prepares for a second term. The photographs reveal a more combative demeanor, signifying a transformation from the broad smiles of his initial inauguration to a more defiant stance, which some analysts interpret as an embrace of resilience in the face of legal challenges. This calculated portrayal likely aims to galvanize his base, while also appealing to an electorate weary of traditional political norms. As the nation braces for what promises to be a contentious inauguration day, the sentiments expressed by Wesslund and the strategic moves by the incoming administration underscore the complexities surrounding Trump's return to power. With the country still grappling with the ramifications of division, the question looms large: how will the next chapter unfold in a nation still struggling to reconcile its differences? As we look to the future, all eyes will be on Washington, D.C., to see not only how Trump's presidency will navigate these turbulent waters, but also how the American populace will respond to a leader who has undeniably reshaped the political landscape in his image. The inauguration may be a celebration for some, but for many it will serve as a stark reminder of the ongoing struggle for unity and understanding in an increasingly fragmented society. In a political landscape marked by alliances and rivalries, the relationship between President Donald Trump and Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton has endured as a poignant example of mutual support amidst legal turmoil. As Trump prepares for his second term in office, the fate of Paxton, who has been under investigation for years, now rests with a Justice Department likely to be influenced by the president's priorities. The bond between Trump and Paxton was highlighted during a courtroom appearance last spring, where Paxton labeled the proceedings against Trump a sham and a travesty of justice. This sentiment echoed their shared experiences of being targets of investigations and impeachment, with both men repeatedly asserting that they have been subjected to politically motivated attacks. Paxton's comment on a conservative podcast reflected a belief that the legal system has been weaponized against political adversaries. It's just sad that we're at this place in our country where the left uses the court system not to promote justice, but to try to take out political opponents. Their camaraderie further solidified during Paxton's impeachment trials, where Trump's social media interventions were perceived as crucial to Paxton's acquittal by the Texas Senate in September 2023. Despite this legal reprieve, Paxton remains under investigation by the FBI regarding allegations of misconduct tied to his dealings with a political donor. With Trump's inauguration on the horizon, many legal experts speculate that the ongoing inquiry could be concluded swiftly under the new administration, particularly given Trump's history of exerting influence over the Justice Department. This interplay of politics and justice has sparked concerns about the integrity of federal investigations. Legal analysts note that Trump's administration may adopt tactics similar to those employed by Republican attorneys general like Paxton, who have used their positions to challenge federal policies and pursue litigation against perceived adversaries. Paul Wesslund, a political scientist, suggests that the Trump administration could signal a shift towards more aggressive legal actions against opponents, mirroring Paxton's approach in recent years. As the political climate shifts, so too do the strategies of key players. In a recent speech, Paxton expressed a desire to clean house within the Justice Department, a sentiment that resonates with Trump's earlier threats to purge officials involved in investigations targeting him. This environment raises questions about the potential for unprecedented direct intervention in federal inquiries, which could undermine the Justice Department's independence. Furthermore, Trump's return to power may embolden Paxton and others who have faced scrutiny. Michael McCrum, a former federal prosecutor, posited that the investigation into Paxton could die on the vine due to the close ties between the two men. This perspective underscores a broader concern about the implications of political alliances on the rule of law. As Trump assumes office, the ramifications of his presidency on the legal landscape will be closely monitored. Analysts emphasize that the outcomes of Paxton's investigations could set a precedent for how political allies navigate legal challenges going forward. With both men having weathered significant storms, their fortunes will surely continue to be interwoven as they pursue their agendas amidst a backdrop of political upheaval. Looking ahead, the relationship between Trump and Paxton will be pivotal in shaping the future of not only Texas politics, but also the broader national discourse on justice and accountability. As they navigate the complexities of governance and legal scrutiny, the potential for significant changes in federal oversight and political accountability remains a critical focal point in the unfolding narrative of American politics. In recent discussions surrounding the evolving relationship between Silicon Valley and American politics, particularly in light of Donald Trump's ascendancy, venture capitalist Mark Andreessen shared his insights on the shifting allegiances within the tech industry. On the podcast Matter of Opinion, hosted by Ross Douthat, Andreessen explored how a sector once firmly aligned with the Democratic Party has begun to gravitate toward conservative ideals, culminating in a notable endorsement of Trump in the 2024 election. Andreessen, a significant figure in Silicon Valley due to his role as co-founder of the venture capital firm Andreessen Horowitz, and as a pioneer of the early internet with Netscape, expressed surprise at the extent to which tech leaders including Elon Musk have shifted their support. "I think it took a lot of us by surprise," he noted, referencing the once cozy relationship between the tech elite and the Democratic establishment. He characterized his own political evolution, having moved from a good Democrat who supported Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton to aligning with Trump, as reflective of broader trends within the industry. The roots of Silicon Valley's initial alignment with the Democratic Party trace back to the 1990s. Under the Clinton administration, a pro-business stance fostered a flourishing environment for innovation and entrepreneurship. Andreessen described this period as a love affair between tech entrepreneurs and the political elite, where the understanding was that success in business would lead to philanthropy and social progress. This symbiotic relationship allowed Silicon Valley to thrive while contributing to progressive social causes, creating a narrative that defined the deal between tech and the Democratic Party. However, the dynamics began to change during Obama's second term. Andreessen identified a growing rift catalyzed by a radicalization among younger employees who, influenced by leftist ideologies, began viewing capitalism as inherently corrupt. This cultural shift within the workforce led to tensions, as many employees began to actively challenge corporate leadership over social issues, further complicating Silicon Valley's relationship with the Democratic Party. The fallout from the 2016 election, when Trump capitalized on these tensions, marked a turning point. Andreessen commented on the Democratic Party's subsequent blame directed at tech companies for Trump's victory, highlighting a shift from admiration to antagonism. This, coupled with the increasing demands for social accountability from employees, forced many Silicon Valley leaders to re-evaluate their political affiliations. As the Biden administration took office, Andreessen and others found themselves facing what they perceived as an aggressive regulatory environment. He described the administration's approach as one that threatened the very fabric of Silicon Valley's innovation-driven ethos, particularly through regulations affecting emerging technologies like artificial intelligence and cryptocurrency. "We realized we had to get involved in politics," he explained, emphasizing the fear that these regulations would stifle creativity and entrepreneurship. Andreessen's perspective reflects a broader sentiment among some in Silicon Valley, a desire for a political environment that promotes technological advancement rather than regulatory constraints. In discussions about the future, he noted a desire for a coalition that prioritizes American leadership in technology, advocating for a business-friendly approach that encourages innovation while navigating the complexities of a politically charged landscape. Looking ahead, the implications of this shift in allegiance could reshape not only the political landscape but also the future of technology in America. With voices like Andreessen's gaining traction in conservative circles, the potential for a more pronounced tech-right movement appears feasible. As these dynamics continue to evolve, the tech industry will likely remain a focal point in the intersection of business and politics, prompting ongoing discussions about its role in shaping American society. In conclusion, the alliance between Silicon Valley and the Democratic Party has been a complex saga of mutual benefit, cultural shifts, and evolving political landscapes. As the tech industry navigates its newfound alignment with conservative politics, the ramifications for innovation, regulation, and social accountability are yet to be fully realized. The coming years will be critical in determining how these relationships unfold and what they mean for the future of technology in America. As the global economy grapples with uncertainties in 2025, the specter of escalating trade tensions, particularly stemming from the anticipated policies of President-elect Donald Trump, looms large. The World Bank has issued a stark warning that global growth is set to flatline at a meager 2.7%, marking one of the weakest performances since the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic in 2020. This slowdown is attributed to multiple factors, including fears surrounding new tariffs that Trump has threatened to impose on key trading partners, including China, Canada, and Mexico. Ahan Coase, the World Bank's deputy chief economist, emphasized the potential ramifications of these tariffs. He stated escalating trade tensions between major economies pose a substantial threat to the global economy. The imposition of tariffs could not only make it more expensive for firms to penetrate the American market, one of the largest in the world, but could also trigger retaliatory measures from affected countries, further exacerbating the situation. CO's estimated that a 10% increase in tariffs could reduce global economic growth by 0.2%, a figure that could be compounded if nations respond with their own tariffs. The implications of Trump's tariff strategies are significant. As the world's largest importer, the U.S. economy's reliance on imports, totaling approximately $3.2 trillion annually, makes it a crucial player in global trade dynamics. The fear is that imposing tariffs will not only hinder foreign businesses, but could ultimately lead to higher prices for American consumers, thereby limiting purchasing power and economic mobility. In the U.S., the narrative surrounding economic policy has also been shaped by the tax cuts enacted in 2017, which Republicans heralded as a catalyst for growth, promising to boost wages and spur investment. However, the actual impact of these tax cuts remains murky, clouded by the economic upheaval caused by the pandemic. Analysts have struggled to draw definitive conclusions about the law's effectiveness, as the data has been significantly muddled since 2020. Alan Auerbach, an economics professor at the University of California, Berkeley, noted that the data post-2020 is largely useless for evaluating the long-term effects of the tax cuts. Despite the GOP's claims of the tax cuts driving economic success, a closer examination reveals a more complex picture. While the corporate tax rate was slashed from 35% to 21%, leading to a surge in corporate investments, many economists caution against attributing broader economic success solely to this legislation. Studies indicate that while corporate investment may have increased, the benefits have not been evenly distributed across the workforce, with the top earners seeing the most significant gains. Bill Gale, a co-director at the Tax Policy Center, succinctly summarized the findings, stating, "It increased the deficit and it redistributed resources toward the wealthy." As the economic landscape continues to evolve, the challenge for policymakers will be to foster an environment that promotes sustainable growth without exacerbating existing inequalities. CO's remarks about the need for countries to adopt thoughtful economic strategies resonate deeply in this context. He pointedly remarked, "The bottom line is there is no Ozempic for economic growth. Countries need to think about what policies to implement." Looking ahead, it remains to be seen how Trump's administration will navigate these complex economic waters. The dual pressures of potential tariffs and the legacy of tax cuts will undoubtedly shape the economic discourse in the coming years, with global leaders closely monitoring the U.S. approach to trade and fiscal policy. As nations grapple with their economic strategies, the interplay between tariffs, taxes, and growth will be critical in determining whether the goals of reducing poverty and enhancing living standards can be achieved in a world increasingly defined by economic uncertainty. In a significant turn of events, Taiwan's defense budget may face cuts just as former President Donald Trump returns to the political scene. This potential reduction in military spending coincides with a turbulent period for both Taiwan and the broader geopolitical landscape in the Asia-Pacific region. The implications of such a move could reverberate not only through Taiwan's national security posture, but also affect its relationships with key allies, particularly the United States, as tensions with China continue to escalate. The discussions around Taiwan's defense budget arise amid growing concerns over China's military expansion and its assertive posture toward Taiwan. Recent reports suggest that Taiwanese officials are considering trimming their defense spending, a decision that stands in stark contrast to the rising military capabilities of China. According to a senior defense analyst, cutting the defense budget at this juncture sends a concerning signal to both Beijing and Washington, one that could undermine Taiwan's deterrence strategy. As the world watches, Trump's re-entry into the political arena brings with it a focus on national defense, as seen in his recent appointments. He has nominated Dr. Troy Mink, a senior leader at the National Reconnaissance Office, to serve as Secretary of the Air Force. This decision underscores Trump's commitment to modernizing the U.S. military, with a particular emphasis on advanced technologies and maintaining air superiority. Mank is expected to play a crucial role in overseeing programs like the Next Generation Air Dominance Initiative and the Collaborative Combat Aircraft, which aim to enhance the capabilities of the U.S. Air Force in an increasingly competitive global environment. In a statement, Trump emphasized the importance of a robust military presence, declaring, "Troy will work with our incredible Secretary of Defense nominee Pete Hegseth to ensure that our nation's Air Force is the most effective and deadly force in the world." This sentiment echoes throughout the defense community, where there is a growing recognition of the need for the U.S. and its allies to adapt to new threats, particularly from China and Russia. However, as Taiwan contemplates its budgetary decisions, the question arises, can a reduction in defense spending coexist with the need for a strong deterrent against potential aggression? Analysts are warning that a reduction could weaken Taiwan's military capabilities at a time when it is crucial to present a united front against external threats. Historical precedents suggest that perceived weaknesses can embolden adversaries, and Taiwan's leadership would do well to consider these factors carefully. Meanwhile, the debate over the sea-launched nuclear cruise missile program (SLCMN) in the U.S. signals a broader discourse on military spending and strategic priorities. Some defense experts have urged the cancellation of the SLCMN program, arguing that it is an unnecessary expense that diverts resources from more pressing modernization efforts within the Navy, with estimated costs ballooning beyond initial projections. The program has come under scrutiny for its potential to strain an already stretched defense industrial base. In conclusion, as Taiwan navigates its defense budget amidst shifting political tides and military posturing, it finds itself at a crossroads. The decisions made now will have lasting implications, not only for its national security, but also for its relationships with allies, particularly the United States. As the geopolitical landscape continues to evolve, the interplay between military readiness and budgetary constraints will remain a critical focus for both Taiwan and the broader international community. The coming months will undoubtedly reveal how these dynamics unfold and whether Taiwan can maintain its defense posture in the face of formidable challenges. As the world watches the unfolding geopolitical landscape, the United States finds itself at a critical juncture, particularly regarding its relationship with North Korea. In a recent memo addressed to President Donald Trump, the Bulletin of the Atomic Scientists emphasizes the necessity for an open-ended diplomatic engagement with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. As Trump embarks on his second term, the memo outlines the potential benefits and strategic importance of rekindling dialogue with Pyongyang, a process that had shown promise during his first term. The memo, penned by Unkit Panda, underscores that North Korea remains a significant challenge, particularly due to its expanding nuclear arsenal, which U.S. intelligence regards as integral to the nation's defense strategy. The suggestion is clear: the U.S. should aim to shape North Korea's choices in a manner that enhances U.S. interests both in Northeast Asia and globally. The memo also highlights the importance of reassuring key U.S. allies South Korea and Japan that a renewed diplomatic approach could bolster their security against North Korean threats. While the notion of diplomacy is appealing, the memo does not shy away from the realities of deterrence. It stresses that alongside diplomatic efforts, the United States must maintain robust military capabilities in the region to deter conventional warfare, which remains a significant risk. Panda explains that the potential costs of deterrence failure necessitate a continued U.S. military presence on the Korean Peninsula to safeguard strategic interests. The memo also reflects on the lessons learned from past negotiations, particularly the fallout from the Hanoi summit, where discussions collapsed over economic sanctions. Trump's administration had previously faced criticism for its inability to reach a balanced agreement that would have offered North Korea sanctions relief in exchange for verifiable nuclear concessions. Panda posits that this framework remains relevant and could be the basis for future negotiations, urging Trump to consider how to approach Kim with a mindset that might alleviate previous tensions. Further complicating matters, North Korea's geopolitical standing has evolved since Trump last held office. The nation has forged a strategic partnership with Russia that could accelerate its military capabilities, presenting additional challenges to U.S. interests. The memo warns that the U.S. must communicate to Kim that while Russia may provide certain advantages, it cannot deliver the economic growth that Pyongyang seeks. Additionally, the memo hints at the possibility of North Korea seeking a more active role in broader geopolitical discussions, particularly related to the ongoing Russia-Ukraine conflict. With North Korean troops reportedly engaged in military operations in Ukraine, this development could lead to Pyongyang positioning itself as a co-belligerent, further complicating the U.S.'s strategic calculus. As the diplomatic landscape evolves, so too does the need for the United States to adapt its approach. The memo advocates for a proactive strategy that includes not only engagement with North Korea but also a clear communication of U.S. military commitments to the region. The potential for renewed diplomacy could yield significant dividends, not just for U.S. interests, but for regional stability as well. In a parallel development, the backdrop of U.S.-China relations is also shifting. Reports indicate that Chinese Vice President Han Zhang will attend Trump's inauguration, marking the first time a senior Chinese official has participated in such a ceremony. This gesture signals a potential thaw in relations as China expresses readiness to enhance dialogue and cooperation with the new U.S. administration. Diao Daming, a professor at Beijing's Renmin University, notes that this move underscores the importance China places on stabilizing ties with the U.S. As Trump's second term unfolds, the confluence of these diplomatic threads, engagement with North Korea and the recalibration of U.S.-China relations, will be pivotal. Both scenarios present opportunities for the U.S. to navigate a complex global environment with implications that could resonate well beyond the immediate issues at hand. The coming months will be crucial in determining whether these diplomatic overtures can translate into lasting peace and stability in a region fraught with tension.